Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. We're continuing our series about the signs of Judgment Day. And I had covered the minor signs in totality for the purposes of our class. Today, inshallah, in the next few weeks, we will cover the 10 major signs of Judgment Day, one after the other. And we will begin with the one that we know is the first of the 10. And it is also the one that we have the most details about. So we might spend 2 full lectures on just this first sign. And we'll discuss various opinions and issues and controversies surrounding this first sign. Realize that not all of the 10 signs we have as much details, and in fact some of them are just 5 minutes, like the 3 earthquakes. That's all that we know. 3 earthquakes, that's it. I've done the 3 signs right there. Not much is known about those, we can just zoom over them. So not all 10 signs we have the same amount of details for, but the first of the 10 major signs, and no doubt the most interesting for most Muslims, also the most controversial, is the concept of Dajjal. The concept of Dajjal. And he will be the first of the 10. Why and how do we know this? Because we know that the Masih, the Jesus, the coming of Isa, will be coinciding with the Mahdi. The Mahdi and Isa will be on earth at the same time. We did this last 2 weeks ago, correct? You guys were here, we did it, right? And we said that the Mahdi, when will the Mahdi die? How will the Mahdi die? What are the details? Guys, help me out. MashaAllah, our young brother says, what does he say? Say it louder. Nothing. What does nothing mean? We don't know. Don't just say nothing. There are no narrations. We don't know. How will the Mahdi die? What will his death be? We do know Isa will live for a few years, and there is no mention of the Mahdi. So the assumption is the Mahdi is gone, Isa will live. And what will Isa do? Isa will kill the Dajjal. Therefore, Dajjal, Mahdi, Isa, same time frame. So of the 10 major signs, the first of them without a doubt will be Dajjal. Is that clear? This is how we know the first of the 10. And what did our Prophet ﷺ say? When the first of them come, the other will come. Tilwan akhar, ba'd al-akhar, one after the other, like a domino. Once the first one comes, the other 9 will zoom. So we seek Allah's refuge from even seeing the first one. And the first one is the most terrifying of them, and that is Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. So who is Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal? What do we know about Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal? And this will be a detailed lecture, so we will not, in all likelihood we will not finish today. We'll have to continue about the Dajjal in next lecture. First and foremost, what is Masih and what is Dajjal? The word Masaha, Masih, is used for only 2 people in Islamic literature. Number 1, the Masih Isa ibn Maryam, and number 2, the Masih Ad-Dajjal. And in Abrahamic religions, folklore of the Judeo-Christian tradition, the both of them, they are called the promised Messiah and the false Messiah. So in the Christian literature, you have the true Messiah, and that's Isa ibn Maryam, and you have the false Messiah, or the Antichrist he's also called. So you have the Christ and the Antichrist. So the concept of there being 2 paired individuals, Jesus, anti-Jesus, Masih ad-Dajjal and Masih Isa ibn Maryam. This is found in Christian literature, and it is found in Islamic literature as well. So the both religious traditions agree on this. As for the Jewish traditions, there is not that much about the Antichrist. In fact, he doesn't seem to play any role, and this is going to come into play. Remember this point, put it in your mind. We're going to come back to this. There doesn't seem to be the figure of the Antichrist. There is only the figure of the Masih, the Christ. And this is going to come very important in a while. What does Masih mean? Masih means to anoint. What does it mean to anoint? In the good old days, when the king became the king, he would be anointed. They would put some holy oil, special oil, and they would put it on his forehead, for example. When the prophet became a prophet in the time of the Bani Israel, he would be taken to the river Jordan, or one of the holy rivers, and he would be anointed with the water. And the concept of baptism comes from this, that he's going to be anointed with the water. That is the anointment, to rub. And that's in Arabic masaha, which is Masih, the one who is rubbed. So masaha in Arabic is, masaha is to rub, Masih, the one who is rubbed. Masih, the object that is rubbed. So Masih Isa is called Masih because John the Baptist, Yahya, was the final person to give any person this anointment. After Jesus, no one has been anointed by Allah, by the command of Allah, by the barakah of Allah. So Isa is the final one anointed, because there were previous prophets that were anointed, but Isa was the special and the final. So he is called Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam. So he is the Masih, that is Isa. As for the Dajjal, we do not know who will anoint him. Definitely not righteous people, but most likely his followers will anoint him. His followers will appoint him, and he will be the false appointed one. It is said, and there is no explicit evidence about this, that perhaps the Yahud who follow him will anoint him thinking he is the real Masih. So they will do the ritual of Jesus, but to Dajjal. The ritual that was done to Isa will be given to the wrong one, and the people will assume him to be Isa, but he is not Isa, he is Dajjal. So he is going to be the false Masih, the Antichrist, and that is the Masih al-Dajjal. So his title is Masih, and his noun, not his name, his laqab is ad-Dajjal. And Dajjal, what does it mean? Dajjal comes from Dajjal, and Dajjala in Arabic means to mix up. It also means to deceive, but not a regular deceit. The worst type of deceit is called Dajjal. There is no English translation for it, right? Deceive, you can deceive your child, you can deceive your spouse, you can deceive. But Dajjala is to mix the worst evil with the most righteous truth. And why is Dajjal called Dajjal? Because he shall mix the worst evil, and he will put it in with the truth. He will say that he is Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam, and this is Dajjal. Because Isa is a righteous man and the Dajjal is an evil man. So he will take an evil, which is that he is a liar, and he will say he is the best of the best, and he is Isa ibn Maryam. Even worse than this, he will say, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, that he is Allah himself. And what greater Dajjal, what greater deceit, what greater evil is there than to say that he is Allah. And he will claim that he is being inspired by Allah. So he will claim all of these claims. And by the way, the person from Qadian last century, he went through the same things. He first said he is Isa, then he said he is inspired, even though as far as I know he never claimed he is God. But this Dajjal will claim he is God himself. He is Allah himself. So that is why he is called Dajjal, that he is deceiving the people. He is substituting the truth with the falsehood, because no one will mix truth with falsehood in a more brazen manner, in a more blatant manner than Al-Masih al-Dajjal. And our Prophet ﷺ predicted that there will be many Dajjals. In an authentic hadith reported in Musnad Imam Ahmad and other books, our Prophet ﷺ said, and there is a version of it in Sahih Muslim, our Prophet ﷺ said, there shall be after me, listen to this, 30 Dajjalun Kadhabun. 30 Dajjals. All of them Kadhab. كلهم يزعم أنه نبي. Everyone is claiming that he is a Nabi. وأنه لا نبي بعدي. And there is no Nabi after me. What do we learn from this hadith? It's not just one Dajjal. There are many, we can call them in English, Dajjal with a small d. Or we can say mini Dajjals, no problem. But there is one Dajjal with a big D, okay? Or the major Dajjal. So there are many mini Dajjals. Thalathun in one hadith. 30. What is the sign of these false Dajjal? كلهم يزعم أنه نبي. Everyone says the same claim. I am Nabi, I am Nabi, I am Nabi. And the Prophet said, وَأَنَّهُ لَا نَبِيَّ بَعْدِي. From this we learn a principle, my dear brothers and sisters. Anybody who claims he is a Nabi, he is in fact what? A Dajjal. Is that clear? Anybody who claims he is a Nabi, you can call him a title. And that title is, you are a Dajjal. A Dajjal. As for the Dajjal, that will be the last of them, the 30th of them. That is the big Dajjal. That is the worst of them. And before that time, there will be plenty of mini Dajjals. And we had one here in America as well. This Louis Farrakhan. Not Louis Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad. Elijah Muhammad, the founder of the Nation of Islam, he claimed that he is Nabi. And he claimed that Allah inspires him. And he claimed openly that I am the Prophet of God. He was born Elijah Muhammad, Elijah Poole. He changed his name to Elijah Muhammad. And he then said that you have to recite the kalima, there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. And by that he meant he is the messenger. He called himself Muhammad. And then he said, whenever a Muslim says Muhammad Rasulullah, that is me. And so he taught to his people this, and he is one of the last of the Dajjals to come, and Allah knows how many will come until the end of times. But we are now interested in the big Dajjal, the final Dajjal. And there are, before we get to the ahadith about Dajjal, there are two interesting aspects that are found in hadith literature that confuse the average reader, and in fact they even confuse some of the Sahaba. So there still remain elements of confusion about the issue of Dajjal. The first of them was that there was an individual who lived at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, whom even the Prophet ﷺ for a period of time didn't know, is he that Dajjal or is he a minor Dajjal? Okay, he didn't know. And this incident is mentioned in Sahih Muslim and many books of hadith. It is an authentic incident. Multiple narrations exist about a certain young man who lived in Medina, who was from one of the Yahudi tribes. And he was a sorcerer. He had a connection with the jinn. He would call the jinn. And he was a magician. And he would pretend he knew the future. And he would foretell the future. You know, in English we call them a soothsayer. He would foretell the future. And in our religion, anybody who pretends to know the future is a liar. And in our religion, anybody who invokes the jinn and calls out to the jinn, this is a magician. We don't call out to the jinn. We don't do anything for the jinn. And perhaps in another lecture, I'll talk about this reality of how mankind has a relationship with the jinn, which is a very scary and interesting and deep topic, and all of our men and women love talking about the issue of jinn. Jinn stories are swapped at night when the hours become in the wee hours of the night. It becomes common to swap ancient jinn stories, and inshallah one day I'll give an academic lecture. What is all of this? Is there something called jinn? Is there something called magic? And inshallah we'll explain at that stage. For now, realize that it is possible for evil people to invoke the jinn. It is possible. And when they do so, this is what we call magic. And that's why magic is haram. It is always haram to invoke the jinn, because they are wanting nothing but evil. Whoever does so must sacrifice tawheed and get involved in shirk. Because the payments that jinns accept, evil jinns, because you have good jinns as well, the payments that jinns accept is what? Do you think they will accept your American Express? Do they care about dollars and cents? What is the currency you will give the jinn? Your worship. That's the only thing the jinn wants. The jinn doesn't care about your credit score. He doesn't care about your credit cards and your money. What will the jinn do with credit cards and money? What does the jinn want? The same thing he wanted, Iblis wanted, that ana khayrum min. I am better than this creation. Let this creation bow down to me. Let this creation worship me. And if the jinn gets this, in return, the jinn will do some favors for you, right? We'll go and tell you something that, whatever. So we'll talk about that when we get to it. So there was this magician at the time of the Prophet ﷺ by the name of Safi ibn Sayyad. That was his name. Safi ibn Sayyad. And some say his name was Abdullah ibn Sayyad, but his name was Safi. Safi ibn Sayyad. And he was from one of the Yahudi tribes who remained living in Medina for a number of years. Not all of the Jewish tribes were expelled. Some small families remained. And he was from of those tribes that lived on the outskirts of Medina. And when our Prophet ﷺ migrated to Medina, Safi ibn Sayyad was a young child, and he was about to reach puberty. And that's when, and so he's around 13 years old. And that's when our Prophet ﷺ begins interacting with him. And there are a number of interesting narrations about Safi ibn Sayyad. Of them is that the Prophet ﷺ heard that there is this young child who has these visions of the jinn. He predicts the future. And so Umar and the Prophet ﷺ, this hadith is in Sahih Muslim, they walked towards a group of children who were playing, and amongst them was Safi ibn Sayyad. And Ibn Sayyad is his name. He's called in hadith literature Ibn Sayyad. Ibn Sayyad was not aware that the Prophet ﷺ was coming until he was right behind him. And Ibn Sayyad turned around and the Prophet ﷺ was there. So the Prophet ﷺ said to Ibn Sayyad, do you testify that I am Rasulullah? Do you testify I am Rasulullah ﷺ? And Ibn Sayyad said, I testify that you are the Rasul of the Ummiyin, in a derogatory manner. You are the Rasul of the unlettered people. You're not Rasul to me, you're Rasul to the unlettered folk. So the Ibn Sayyad then said to the Prophet ﷺ, and he's 12, 13 years old, look, he said, do you testify that I am Rasulullah? What did we say? One of the signs of a Dajjal is what? Dajjal claims he is Rasul. Right? So he is now saying, and look at the arrogance. And this also shows you that this is what happens when you start getting involved in magic. You really become a very evil person. How dare, in front of the face of the Prophet, and you are twisting the question and you're saying, okay, you ask me, now let me ask you, do you testify that I am Rasulullah? And the Prophet ﷺ said, Amantu billahi wa rasulihi. I believe in Allah and His Messenger. That was his response. And he said to Ibn Sayyad, what do you see? What do you see? What visions come to you? Ibn Sayyad said, I see two people come to me. One of them tells the truth, one of them tells lies. The Prophet ﷺ said, rather, the matter has been made confusing for you, meaning both of them are telling lies. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, I have a test for you. I have hidden something for you. And what was that thing that he was hiding? He was hiding a verse from the Quran, which is, يَوْمَ يَأْتِ السَّمَاء, what's the hafidh here? فَانْتَظِرْ حَتَّى, what is it? Yes, what is the beginning of it? My mind is a little bit awkward because of the Hajj. I'm still not fully recovered. فارتقب يوم تأتي السماء بدخان مبين. فارتقب, I'm saying فانتظر. فارتقب يوم تأتي السماء بدخان مبين. Okay, so the Prophet had recited this verse to the Sahaba, and he's saying, I'm testing Ibn Sayyad. He says he knows ilm al-ghayb. He says he knows everything. Okay, I just recited this verse. Let's see, does he know did I recite this verse or not? You see the test, right? And by the way, any person who charges you $5 an hour to predict the future is betraying his own lies when he's forced to charge you $5 to predict the future. If he knew the future, he would be investing in Bitcoin and the stock market and become multimillionaire instantaneously. The fact that he has to charge you $5 to read your hand, the fact that you have to call in $3.99 per minute to predict the future, indicates what a liar that person is. Is that clear what I'm saying, right? So the Prophet is testing. This is a man, he is claiming he knows ilm al-ghayb. He knows everything. Okay, I just recited a verse 20 feet away from him. Let's see whether he can tell his followers what I just recited to all of you. Simple test, right? فَارْتَقِبْ يَوْمَ تَأْتِ السَّمَاءُ بِدُخَانٍ مُبِينٍ. He had recited to Umar ibn al-Khattab. Now he goes to Ibn Sayyad and he says to Ibn Sayyad, I have a test for you. Do you know what it is? Do you know what I have hidden for you? And this shows you, Ibn Sayyad did have contact with the jinn, but the jinn are not all knowledgeable. All he could say was dukh, dukh, dukh. And the verse was فَارْتَقِبْ, right? فَارْتَقِبْ يَوْمَ تَأْتِ السَّمَاءُ بِدُخَانٍ مُبِينٍ. And the jinn narrated two letters, dukh, 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 and not the whole verse. The whole verse. You see that, right? So there was some jinn that was communicating with Ibn Sayyad, and he wasn't able to do it. So the Prophet said, "Ikhsa ya adu wallah." And ikhsa literally translates as shut up. It is a harsh word. Ikhsa, the English word is shut up. And the Prophet was never harsh except to those who deserved it. اخسأ يا عدو الله. Shut up, O enemy of Allah. فلن تعدو قدرك. You shall never go beyond your meagerness. You think you are so big, you're never going to go beyond this. Umar ibn al-Khattab said, Ya Rasulullah, allow me to execute him. This is a Dajjal. He says he is Rasulullah. He's communication with the jinn. His penalty is execution. Ya Rasulullah, allow me to execute him. And our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if he is that Dajjal, you shall not be able to kill him. And if he is other than that Dajjal, your killing won't benefit anyone. He's nothing. He's going to go away. Right? Leave him be. Now, this hadith is in Sahih Muslim, it's authentic. Now, if he is that Dajjal, you shall not be able to kill him. Why? Because who shall kill that Dajjal? Isa alayhi salam. No one will be able to kill that one. So the Prophet is telling Umar, if he is that Dajjal, you won't be able to kill him. And if he is other than that Dajjal, yeah, what's the big deal? He's going to come and go, no one will care. Your killing will not harm any or benefit anyone. He's going to be a minor, which was the case. He became a footnote in history. Majority of Muslims don't even know about his name, even though during the time of the Sahaba, he was somewhat of a big deal. Somewhat, in the sense, we don't know his state, as we're going to come to. So this is one hadith about Ibn Dajjal. Another hadith, Ibn Sayyad, Another hadith is that once the Prophet ﷺ went to go test Ibn Sayyad, and he walked towards his house with some of the Sahaba, and he hid behind some date palms trying to see Ibn Sayyad in a way that Ibn Sayyad would not see him. But Ibn Sayyad's mother saw the Prophet ﷺ in the distance, so she shouted out, Ya Safi, O Safi, watch, be careful. His mother was on the side of, obviously, the mothers typically side with their sons. Even in batil, unfortunately, this is human nature. So the mother is saying to Ibn Sayyad, Ya Safi, that's his name, or Ya Saf. She cut out the Ya out of love, it's called in Arabic, Bab al-Tarkhim. So she said, Ya Saf, look, there is Muhammad, Rasulullah. So he turned around and he saw the Prophet ﷺ, and there was again some conversation that did not result in anything fruitful per se. And that Ibn Sayyad, he continued to live in Medina after the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and he resided in Medina, and a number of Sahaba swore by Allah that that is the Dajjal. And they considered Ibn Sayyad to be that Dajjal. And of them was Umar ibn al-Khattab. He would make halaf with Allah that that is the Dajjal. Also Jabir ibn Abdullah, the famous Sahabi, he felt that that is the actual Dajjal. And a number of other famous Sahaba. Nafi' said that I heard my master Ibn Umar, Ibn Umar is of course the son of Abdullah of Umar al-Khattab. So Umar and his son Abdullah ibn Umar, obviously same family, they both thought Ibn Sayyad is that Dajjal. Nafi' is the famous slave of Ibn Umar, who was freed by Ibn Umar, and he became a great scholar. And Ibn Umar died, and Nafi' became the Sheikh of Medina, and Malik ibn Anas came, studied with Nafi', and so the golden chain, which you should all know, Malik ibn Anas from Nafi' from Ibn Umar. This is one of the most famous isnads of Islamic history. And Nafi' was nothing other than a servant, a slave, whom Allah honored with knowledge. This is what knowledge does. He was purchased as a young child as a slave, but he was eager for Islam. He memorized the Quran, he memorized hadith, and therefore every book of hadith has Malik from Nafi' from Ibn Umar. So Nafi' said, I heard my master Ibn Umar say, Wallahi, I have no doubt that Masih al-Dajjal is Ibn Sayyad. He's making halaf because he heard it from his father. So Umar and his son Ibn Umar, they felt that Ibn Sayyad is none other than that ad-Dajjal. And there's a famous narration as well that is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, that once Ibn Umar met Ibn Sayyad in the streets of Medina, and he had a fight with him, verbal fight, and he made Ibn Sayyad very angry, and Ibn Sayyad walked away stomping, very angry. So Ibn Umar then visited the house of his sister Hafsa, our mother Hafsa, and Hafsa heard the news that Ibn Umar and Ibn Sayyad had a confrontation in the bazaar, in the public sphere of Medina. This is after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. The news spread that Ibn Sayyad and Ibn Umar, they had it out. They were shouting and screaming. Ibn Sayyad left stomping and angry. Hafsa said to her brother that, what is the matter with you and Ibn Sayyad? Why do you have to interfere with him? Why are you getting involved in this issue? Don't you know that the Prophet ﷺ said, so this is a hadith now, that the Dajjal shall come and appear after something has caused him to become angry? Meaning, why are you poking him? Why are you prodding him? Why are you getting him angry? What is your business with the man? Let him be. We don't want the Dajjal to come when he's alive. Which means even Hafsa might have been sympathetic that Ibn Sayyad is who? Is that Dajjal. And that's one family. Hafsa, Ibn Umar, they're one family, and they thought that Ibn Sayyad is the actual Dajjal. Now, this issue of Ibn Sayyad being the Dajjal was denied by other Sahaba. And the most famous narration we have in this regard, which is one that is somewhat funny and somewhat sad at the same time, and this is also in Sahih Muslim. Imam Muslim, by the way, he made a section in his Sahih about the ahadith of Ibn Sayyad. So if any of you want to study Ibn Sayyad, you can go to Sahih Muslim. It is translated in English. I'm sure there are many Urdu translations, and you will find an entire section about the ahadith of Ibn Sayyad. And now with this commentary of mine, you can now approach this section, because without commentary it's very confusing. And you can read all of these half a dozen narrations about Ibn Sayyad in Sahih Muslim. So a very sad and funny and humorous and interesting narration in Sahih Muslim as well is narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu ta'ala an. He says that one time I was doing Hajj or Umrah, the narrator forgot what he said, with Ibn Sayyad. And the time came for the caravan to stop. So you know, the caravans go for 5-10 hours, they stop for the night, next morning they'll go. So the time came to stop. And when the caravans basically stopped, everybody ran away from Ibn Sayyad, and I was the one left next to him. Right? So nobody wanted to put his tent next to the tent of Ibn Sayyad. Okay? Everybody goes away, and I found myself next to Ibn Sayyad. فَاسْتَوْحَشْتُ مِنْهُ وَحْشَةً شَدِيدًا. And I became very terrified of him because of the rumors going around about him. This is after the death of the Prophet ﷺ. Still the rumors are there. Abu Sa'id wants nothing to do with the guy. And looking around, he saw I was the only camel there, so he brought his belongings and he sat down next to me. I said to him, "It is so hot over here, maybe it's better for you if you rest in that shade over there. Just get away from me." Okay? So he got the hint, he stood up and he went over there. And eventually some meat came to me. So Ibn Sayyad stood up to share with that meat. So now food has come. And generally speaking, when you're in one caravan, you're going to all share the meal. Okay? Nobody wanted to deliver the meal to him, so they delivered it to Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, and Ibn Sayyad wants to now share that meal. So he came and he sat down with me, and he had a glass of milk with him. So he gave me some milk and he said, "Go ahead, take some." So I said, "This milk is warm and I don't like warm milk. And the only reason I didn't want to drink it," this is him saying, "is because I did not want to touch anything he touched." Okay? Who refuses milk in those days? Everybody loves milk. But Ibn Sayyad, he goes, "I don't want it." So Ibn Sayyad said, "Ya Aba Sa'id, how I wish that I could take a rope and tie it on that tree and commit suicide because of what the people say about me." In other words, he knows exactly why Abu Sa'id is not sitting next to him, is not sharing the milk with him, and it's hurting Ibn Sayyad. How I wish that I can take a rope, tie it on that tree, and then commit suicide because of that, because of what the people say about me. Ya Aba Sa'id, don't you know from being from the Ansar what the Prophet ﷺ said? Ya Aba Sa'id, aren't you one of the most knowledgeable people about the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ? Ya Aba Sa'id, look, he is now quizzing him. Don't you know that the Dajjal is a kafir and I am a Muslim? Ya Aba Sa'id, don't you know that the Dajjal shall have no children, and I have left my children in Medina. By the way, these are all signs. Dajjal, we all know he's a kafir. Dajjal shall have no children. And Ibn Sayyad said, I left my family in Medina. How can I be Dajjal? Ya Aba Sa'id, don't you know that Dajjal shall not enter Mecca and Medina, and here I am having left Medina on our way to Mecca. Now he's giving some solid points here, right? How are you going to refute this? Okay. By the way, so another thing about Dajjal, we're going to come to these. One of the signs of Dajjal is he shall not enter Mecca or Medina. And Ibn Sayyad is living in Medina and he's on his way to Mecca. And Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said, he continued making these arguments until I was about to have a soft spot for him. Then what happened? Then he said, Ama wallahi inni la a'rifuhu wa a'rifu mawlidahu wa ayna huwa al-an. But by Allah, this is Ibn Sayyad saying to Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, I know who the Dajjal is. And I know where he shall be born. And I know who his parents are in one version. And I know where he is now. That throws a spanner in all of this. How do you know all of this, O Ibn Sayyad? How do you know all of this? So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, after having his heart softened, feeling guilty, maybe in doing the guy wrong, now for sure his face must have changed when he said, but I know who he is and I know where he is. All of a sudden the terror comes back to Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and he says, may you be cursed, Ya Ibn Sayyad, for what you have done. And he walks away. So Ibn Sayyad is no joke. There was some murkiness about him, about who he was. However, eventually Ibn Sayyad simply disappears. We don't know when he died. The hadith goes that on the day of Harra, he was just disappeared. Nobody knows basically how he died. But clearly Ibn Sayyad was not that Dajjal, because he himself gave all of these signs that Abu Sa'id al-Khudri had to acknowledge. Whether he died a Muslim or not is another issue, because Ibn Sayyad is saying, I am a Muslim and the Dajjal is a kafir. And this has caused a huge controversy amongst the scholars. And Imam al-Dhahabi, in his monumental encyclopedia of the Sahaba, he basically says that he cannot be a Sahabi because, and this is a very interesting point, what is the definition of a Sahabi? A Sahabi is someone whom the Prophet ﷺ interacted with while that person was a Muslim. If the interaction occurred and the person was not a Muslim and later embraced Islam, that person does not become a Sahabi. And of the examples, or the possible examples, is Ibn Sayyad. Ibn Sayyad did not accept Islam in the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ. If he accepted Islam, and that is an if, we don't know. If he accepted Islam after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, this does not make him a Sahabi, it makes him a Tabi'i. Another interesting twist, not as big of a twist, but it is nonetheless interesting. Another interesting twist is that the son of Ibn Sayyad, became a great scholar. And his name is Umara ibn Sayyaf ibn Sayyad, right? Ibn Safi ibn Sayyad. So Umara ibn Safi ibn Sayyad. And this same Umara is one of the teachers of Imam Malik, believe it or not. So and his name is found in the Muwatta and others as a narrator of hadith. And this is the son of Ibn Sayyad. And he is a narrator of hadith, and he is a famous narrator of hadith. And it is said that Imam Malik respected Umara immensely because of his knowledge of hadith. Okay, so one of those interesting twists. The bottom line, in the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, there was a cryptic figure who was a minor Dajjal in that time frame. And because he was still a young child, the Prophet ﷺ did not know, is he going to grow up to become that Dajjal or not? And the Prophet ﷺ passes away, and that confusion lingers on in the Sahaba. Some of them still think he is the Dajjal. But we now know that he could not have been that Dajjal. Now it is clear he wasn't that Dajjal, and so you should be aware of that controversy, that Ibn Sayyad was one of the minor Dajjals. Now, did he embrace Islam or not? Allah knows best, but this last phrase that he said to Abu Sa'id al-Khudri really throws a spanner. Means he still had contact with the world of the jinn, and he still has some issues that are un-Islamic. So he dies in murky circumstances, and we leave his affair to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
If you made it to the end of the video, please like the video as a sadqa jariyah, so more and more people can watch it and you will get sawab for whoever watches it. We don't earn money from YouTube ads, so you can support our channel from the link in the description, so we can keep making new videos and you can subscribe to our channel. Jazakallah.